Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me. So today I want to talk about even if I'm in a trial, even if I'm in a tribulation, even if I'm in a circumstance and you do not deliver me, God, am I still going to love you, follow you, and trust you, even if? And so today I want to talk about a story that many of you know. It's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So a little bit of a short story in case you don't know what this is about. So in the Bible, we're told about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And there is a king, his name is King Nebuchadnezzar, and he sets up a gold image of himself, and he wants everybody to worship this gold image of himself. And so the king gets told that these three, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, will not bow down to the statue when they play the music and things like that. And so King Nebuchadnezzar has them brought to him. So these three men, they're standing in front of King Nebuchadnezzar, and he tells them, if you're going to bow down good, but if not, then he threatens them that they're going to go into the furnace. And so this is what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's response is. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up." And that's found in Daniel 3, verses 16 to 18. So here we see Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's answer is this. So first, they respectfully tell him, they don't scream at him, shout at him, curse at him. They respectfully tell him, we don't need to answer you in this matter. And they tell him, if this is the case, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. So they're making a statement. God can deliver us. And it says, and he will deliver us from your hand. So that's a statement of faith and boldness by saying, not only can he deliver us, but he will. And that's how we should live. We should live as if it's already done. And it says, but if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. So here they say, but if not. So number one, God can deliver us. Number two, God will deliver us. But if not, if for some reason God does not, we still will not bow down. We still will not bow down to the things of this world, and we will still serve our God only. So this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the even ifs in our life. Sometimes like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's story, they went in bound, and then King Nebuchadnezzar saw them. There was a fourth man in the fire. It was the Son of Man. And Jesus, he untied them. They were not bound any longer, and they survived the fiery furnace. But what happens? What happens when that doesn't happen? What happens when you don't survive the fiery furnace? Are you still going to trust God, even if the outcome is not what you were hoping, wanting, or even praying for? And it's hard. It's so much easier to say, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they got thrown in the fire and they came out and they didn't even smell like smoke, right? And so it's so much easier to say, oh yeah, I'll be fine if God doesn't deliver me in this manner. I'm still going to be okay. But it's another thing when it actually doesn't happen, when those prayers actually don't get answered. Whatever you're asking for, whether it's a child, whether it's finances, whether it's a job, whatever it is, it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to follow that faith through with action. If you look at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they went into the fire, they could have been bluffing. They could have said, no matter what, I'm not going to serve you. I'm not going to bow down to your statue, right? They could have said that, but then as they're being thrown into the fire, they could have been like, wait, okay, all right, but they didn't. They still followed through. They showed the action from their faith, with faith without action is dead, right? Is what I was trying to say. So faith without action is dead. And so what they did was they didn't just say that they believed and say that they knew God would deliver them, but even if not, they followed through with what they said, that statement that they made, they followed through with it. And so it's one thing to actually say that you will trust God in a trial, but when you're actually put to the fire and put to the test, that is when the true faith comes out and says, I am going to follow you no matter what. I believe you can do this, God. I believe that you will do this, God. But even if you don't, I am still going to follow you and I am still going to love you. And so there's something that I want to share with you guys. So I was listening to a song earlier, and it says this. It says, if the highest place I reach is at your feet, then I've done it all. If the best thing that I've seen is your glory, then I've seen it all. Your love has saved my life forever. Satisfied God, you are my everything. And so we have to realize that in this life, we are going to face trials and tribulations. And sometimes there's going to be those disappointments where we pray for something over and over again and it does not happen. And maybe it's just not God's will now for it to happen, or maybe it's never his will for it to happen. But either way, we have to ask ourselves, are we going to follow God even if he does not come through for us with this thing that we're asking for? And I want you to realize too that if God is not giving you something that you're asking for, then there's a reason behind it. God wouldn't just deny something from one of his children just to do it, just to say, no, I just really don't want you to have that. No, he does it out of love and because he can see the future and he can see if this thing you are asking for is going to hurt you, or maybe he is preparing you for something greater and something better. Or, there's so many different things that God could be doing by saying no in this moment. And so we have to not lean on our own understanding and we have to trust God. We are told not to lean on our own understanding. And the reason that we don't is because our minds, we are so finite in our minds, meaning that we cannot possibly even come close to okay, let me explain it this way. The Bible tells us that God knows the beginning to the end, right? So God knows before anything even happens to you, he knew it was going to happen and he knows what the outcome is and he knows everything in between. So he knows that if you take this path right now, then it is not going to lead to the place that he wants you. Or he knows that if you take this path now instead of a year from now, then you're not going to be refined and built up the way that he wants you to be able to handle and sustain that thing that he's going to give you. Then these are just a few examples. I'm just trying to say that you cannot see around the corner. It's like if I'm standing in a hallway and there is something on the other side of the hallway. Let's say that there's a snake there on the other side of the hallway and all I can see is what's in the hallway, right? I can't see through the halls. I don't have x-ray vision. And so and that would be cool, but we don't have x-ray vision. So if I'm looking down the hall and I can't see anything past those walls, guess who can see? God can. God can see what's around that corner. God can see what's a block away from that corner. Only God can see. And so we have to trust that even though sometimes we want something so badly and we pray for it and we genuinely believe, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they said he can, he will, but even if he doesn't, that's what we need to do is that God can do this. God can answer this prayer. And I believe that God will do this, but sometimes he doesn't. And we need to be brave because it does take bravery to be able to say, I know that I really wanted this, but if God doesn't want me to have it, then I don't want it either, and this is what this song is too, because it says, if the highest place I reached is at your feet, then I've done it all. It's saying that, even if I don't have anything else but you, Jesus, even if I've just but reached your feet, then I have everything that I need because Jesus is the one who sustains us. And it's so hard to get caught up in life. It's so hard to get caught up in the wants and the needs too. I need a house, I need money, I need finances to be better, I need a job, or I need whatever the case is. It's so easy to get caught up in those things, but you have to remember too, this life, it is so short compared to all of eternity. Eternity is so much longer. And so we get so caught up in the here and the now, not realizing this life, it goes so fast. It goes by so fast. And what you're going to be left with at the end of this life, it's not going to be the things that you had, your job or finances or those houses or those cars. Those things are not going to be here. When you die, you die. Ecclesiastes talks about that basically when you die, whatever you have goes to somebody else, right? So you don't even take those things with you. And so we work so hard for the things of this life, not realizing that this life in the end, it obviously we still need money to live and those things. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we work so hard and put all of our focus and all of our attention on all of these things that actually don't sustain us. They just make us happy in the moment. Like somebody who wants to get a new house, right? So what happens? They get a new house and then maybe 10, 20 years goes down the road and maybe they want a different house. Those things are so temporary. It's like when we do have a house and what happens, we rearrange our furniture and then maybe a year or two later we look and we're like, no, we want something else. We're constantly changing our wants and the things that we need and the things that like I said, our wants of what we want in this life, they're constantly changing. But Jesus, he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's always the same. He's always going to be there for you. He's always going to love you. He doesn't wear out like the things of this world do. It's like the scripture about the treasures of this life, the treasures of this world, where the rust and moth destroy. But heaven, what we have with Jesus, our eternity, that cannot be destroyed. Jesus cannot be destroyed. He has overcome the grave. He is already established. His kingdom is forever. Um, and so we have to look at those things too. And so it's easy to get caught up in what we want. I myself, my husband and I were waiting for finances to change. We're waiting for, we need a house, we need all of these things. And Paul talks about being content as well in our circumstances. And I know that that is not an easy one to do, because to be content in something that that you not only want, but sometimes it's also something you need. And sometimes God just says no at that moment, and we don't understand it at times, and we don't like I said, we're not meant to understand it, but sometimes that's hard to not be able to understand, like, God, we need this right now. It's not even a want at this moment, it's a need. If you need food, or if you need, I get it. We have been through so much, my husband and I, these past 5 years, and I get what the needs are. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I have been through a lot, my husband and I, and we know what it's like to need, to actually need. I know the difference between needing and wanting something. And sometimes God just says no. And we have to learn to trust him and to be content in those things, because if we learn to be content, I look at it this way too. So it's easier to be content if you focus on the fact that all of these things are temporary. So, us wanting a house, I'll use that for an example. My husband and I have been waiting to get our own house for a while now. We had listened to God. He asked us to move, and we have been living with relatives since then. And so I could sit here and say, God, you told us to move. We sold our house, and now we've been living with relatives. We have no house. And I could choose to get angry at God and say, I'm not going to follow, I could choose these things. I'm not going to follow what you say anymore, because you told us to come here. You can get mad, and you can get resentful. You can get bitter, or you can get better. You can choose to learn in those situations. You can choose to see that if God is not moving you at this moment for the thing that you're asking for, then he has a reason and he has a purpose for it. And I choose to believe that God has something greater than anything I could ever imagine for our situation. Is it hard? Yeah, it's hard. It's hard living with relatives. It's hard not knowing what tomorrow holds. That's hard. But I also know who holds tomorrow. God holds it. And I also know that he loves me. And another thing that I like to look at is his character. You can be mad at him, or you can say, I know that God's not giving me this and I do need it, but I also trust God's character. I trust that he's a good God. I trust that he loves us. And I trust that the scriptures talk about how, that if we are evil, give good gifts to our children, how much more God, right? So God loves you, and he wants to give you the things that you are asking for, but it is possible that it is just not time right now or ever. And we have to be okay with that. And we have to realize that his character says that he loves us and that he is going to work everything out for good. And we have to learn to trust him. And if he's not going to give us one thing, if he's not going to open this door, then he will open another door. And maybe it's now, or maybe it's even, in my situation, it's been 5 years. Sometimes we are called to wait. And in that waiting, I've learned that in the waiting is when you really grow to trust God. It is when your faith is really tested, is when you are put to that fire. Like I said, with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they could have said, we're not going to bow down to the statue. But then when they got ready to get thrown into the fire, they could have went back on what they had said and said, okay, no, wait. But they didn't. They followed through with it. And so we have to learn that during those trials is when our faith is really tested. And I know that it's hard. Those even ifs are hard to say, even if. And so I want to end with saying that if you are waiting on God for something and you are praying, I want to ask you that question. Even if God does not come through for you for what you are asking, are you still going to trust him? Are you still going to follow him? And are you still going to love him? And I also want to mention again, so if the highest place I reached is at your feet, then I've done it all. If the best thing that I've seen is your glory, then I've seen it all. Your love has saved my life forever satisfied, God. You are my everything. God, he is our everything. He is the literal air in our lungs. He's the air we breathe. We have our being and we live because of him, because of what Jesus Christ did at the cross. So for those of you who believe in Jesus and follow Jesus and believe in his death and resurrection, this is you. You have everything that you need. And it's so easy to be struck with discontentment because you are wanting something or needing something. But I just want you to remember that God, that he is good, his character is good, and he does love you, and he does want to give you things. And sometimes he's holding things back from you for your protection, for your love, and because he has something greater and better planned for you. And we have to learn to trust him and to trust those things and to trust that even if all we have in this world is Jesus's feet, then so be it, because that's more than enough. You know, he's already given us his life. And sometimes we forget that he has already given us so much of himself that we fail to realize that when we need something or want something, and sometimes we get angry, or sometimes we get upset, or sometimes we get bitter, and we have to realize that he has already given us so much. He already gave us his life. He died for us. You know, he died and he bled and he suffered so much for us, leaving behind his kingdom and suffering for us. He has given you already so much. And even if he doesn't give you anything else from here on out, he has already given you so much. And we need to be thankful and grateful for those things. And so like I said, I want to end with this, that like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, we need to believe and know that God can do all things 100%. God can do anything. He's God. There is nothing too hard for him. And so we need to remember that, but we also need to remember that we need to keep our faith that God will do it. So God can do it. God will do it. But even if you don't, God, I'm still going to trust you and I'm still going to love you. Yeah, this hurts. Yes, this is hard. But even if you don't, you've already done so much for me, God. And I am going to love you and follow you and trust you all the days of my life, even if you do not give me what I am asking for. And so that's all that I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching.